It's time. It's the official the official theme song of Lunchtime Wednesdays. It's me. I'm Nick. I'm the problem. It's me. I should start the music. I got music today. Guess what? We're going to talk about Plok today, which is pretty exciting. I'm super excited about this. I'm going to go ahead and hit music. See if it works. If there's anyone on here, feel free to tell me whether or not the sound is working. Stream Manager is live. Let's see here. I'm just gonna go ahead and hang tight for a moment. My hair is like real bad today, so I'm doing a hat. I hope you don't mind. It's like rude to wear a hat inside, but I'm gonna wear a hat inside today because I don't know what's going on. I'm getting older. I'm getting grayer. I think you can sort of see like maybe some lightening of the hair, not in terms of color, but in terms of how much there is. So I joked when I said it was going to be Plok. It's actually just going to be me talking about my thinning hair and my graying face, and my crow's feet, and what else? My widow's peaks, all of these sorts of things. My knee hurts sometimes now. It shouldn't, but it does. My lower back. So anyway, that's what we're here for today. Not actually. We are here to talk a little bit about Plok. We're gonna do some Plok talk. We're gonna have some Plok talk. And I for one am super excited. And I think I mentioned a minute ago that I am home team game dev Plok. I'm gonna chant Plok, 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 Plok. I'm really excited about Plok. I love Plok. And we'll get into Plok. It's a fun name to say. I'm going to get into that in a few moments. I'm gonna jump into it in a sec, but I want to, before I do that, note that I'm a little bit nervous because I haven't actually like done one of these where I've really prepared in any serious way. McMahon, Plok, 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 Plok. Can we get a round of Plok in the chat? Um, I uh, I haven't really prepared in any real way ever for one of these things. Maybe I've like looked at a manual a little bit, or maybe I've like put in some fun music. But this is the first time where I actually did a little bit of legwork to do a little bit more. So bear with me. I haven't done this before. I have a little bit of sort of background on the game itself, a little bit of background on the manual itself, how that was put together. I even turned on Plok. You can see it in the background. Wait, there. It's backwards, so this is extremely difficult. And yeah, and I'm excited to talk about Plok. Before I do that, I want to say I hope everybody's doing okay. Anybody who follows me on the socials has gotten probably way too many posts from me about this, so I'm just going to say apologies. But thank you for joining. I will also send out a note of sincere gratitude and appreciation. To Steve Pickford, one of the two famous Pickford brothers, who created Plok, and for helping out, for being so open to some of my questions, my curiosity, and being very patient with me, and very willing to go along with my questions and talk a bit about this. So thank you so much to Steve for everything. And just again, your willingness to be available for some questions. I know you got a lot of other stuff going on, and I'm just a dude who likes Plok and reads manuals, and I'm extremely grateful to you. Thank you very much. If you're here, if you're seeing it, if not, I hope that you are enjoying a nice night out in across the pond, as they say. But anyway, before we get into Plok, I have. I just wanted to say, let's see what. Hope everyone's having a good week. I am continuing to play Balatro. So I just wanted to let everybody know that if you are playing any video games, you should stop what you're doing and you should play Balatro. I am a few weeks behind on that one, but my God, is that game good. If you have any games that you're playing these days that you really like or want to call out, I'd actually love to hear them. I'm sort of looking for something to take me away from Balatro a little bit. The other one that have been playing is Kunitsugami on Game Pass on the Xbox. It's everywhere, but it feels like Kunitsugami is that Capcom game where it's sort of a tower defense-y, beat 'em up, almost like Animal Crossing kind of combo. It's very out there, and it feels very much like a game that would have been on the PlayStation 2 that we would all be saying we wish that they would bring back now. Is kind of my like review of it. So Kunitsugami on the I'm playing it on Xbox. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. That's where I'm at. Getting a nice little vacation coming on up. And with that in mind, since I missed last week because I was at work, I had to go down to the office, down to Los Angeles, to the Riot office. I missed last week, so I'm a little bit out of sorts, out of breath. Psycock the Solly, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. And I hope you're ready for some Plok. So, I'm going to get into Plok here in one moment. Plok, 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 Plok. Every time I see Plok in the chat, I am overcome. McMahon, your friend, was hyping Belatra up too last week. I played, I'm going to be honest, I played maybe like a few rounds of it and I wasn't feeling it. I was like, I don't know about this. I was a little overwhelmed by the card stuff. It's not my thing, but my God, is it good. It is, it's very good, and extremely addictive. And I hope that I can get my life back eventually. But if I can't, I hope at least that I can carve out some more time to talk about Plok. So this is what I was talking about earlier about being a little bit nervous because I've never done this before on a stream and I don't have anything super overwhelming to share. But since I did get a chance to hear from Steve a little bit and learn a little bit about the background of Plok, and again the background of the manual, I wanted to share a little bit with you. I even took notes. You can see my notes right there. So Plok, this is bear with me here, folks. Plok was developed by Steve and John Pickford, among other folks, over at Software Creations, where they were working at the time. They had been running Zippo games in the past, previously, which we'll get to a little bit. But when they made Plok, they were working at Software Creations alongside Tim and Jeff Folan. You're going to hear a lot of great music in the background here today. Before they did Plok, they developed, and I thought this was an interesting little thing. Steve shared with me the liner notes for the Plok soundtrack vinyl that came out a little while ago. It's expensive now. I missed my chance on it, but the liner notes are super interesting and give a great rundown on the history of things. They developed for Rare as Zippo Games. They developed Wizards and Warriors 2, Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2 on the NES. And I didn't realize this, but you talk about a group of people who have been in it and doing stuff and doing amazing stuff for a long time. The Pickfords are it. They were the first and only studio ever to be contracted out by Rare to develop an NES game. I think they did it a number of times with Sesame Street and a few other things as well. But that's a pretty high bar to reach, right? Rare was the kind of first Western studio that Nintendo wanted to work with. Nintendo saw the quality. Rare saw the quality in the work that the Pickford brothers were doing as well, which is pretty cool. So the soundtrack to Wizards and Warriors 2, Iron Sword's home team game dev says is so good. I should look up. If anybody in the chat knows who did the soundtrack to that, I would love to know it. Not sure if that was done in-house over with Zippo or whether that was one of the like a David Wise type over at Rare. But that is a pretty good one. They worked very closely with the Stamper brothers. So you have the Pickford brothers and the Stamper brothers, before also rolling in the Folan brothers. So a lot of it's a family affair. They also got to work on the Rare Raz arcade board. So this gets back a little bit to after that. They were very close with Rare. They were doing all sorts of good stuff with Rare, and they worked on Rare started working on an arcade board, a coin-op board. Called the Raz board. And so they got their first taste of kind of arcade development, seeing what that was like. And apparently this board was extremely nuanced and specific. In particular, which led the Pickford brothers to figure out a good way to sort of maximize the way that sprites could appear and move and be smooth on the board. I'm not technical, so please bear with me on this a little bit. But in doing so, they discovered that one of the more efficient ways to do graphics on there was to have a character with limbs, and the limbs were all separate from one another, and they could move independently. And this allowed them, within the confines of this arcade board, to move smoothly and do a bunch of stuff. And from that moment, essentially, Plok as a character was born. He could, fire off limbs. The prototype that they did for this had a character with limbs that weren't attached that could fire off like little rockets. And the more the limbs came off, the kind of more hobbled he was. So Plok as a character was born for this arcade board that Rare was developing, that they sort of gave up on after the console business started making them a lot of money. Plok as a character's name. I promise we'll get to the manual, but I was very excited about this. So this is a little bit of me time here. Bear with me. Plok as a character with a name, Plok. If you're looking for a super deep, in-depth background on why he's named Plok, it's because John Pickford was messing around with stickers, placing them on a VHS tape, and spelled out P-L-O-K, Plok. So there we go. That's why we have Plok. A little exciting news about me. The reason that my AOL screen name back in the day was Gigrable was because I did a very similar thing. So really, if you think about it, same level of creativity here across the board. I'm just as good at as art as some of my favorite developers. So I think that's the takeaway here. Yes. So yes, and McMahon points out, knowing nothing about Plok beforehand, there is a lot of backstory here. And Plok is a game that I think a lot of folks have played. I sure played the heck out of it as a kid. I rented it and I owned it eventually. It was one of those games where I rented it and rented it and rented it, and my mom was like, "Let's just get it for you for your birthday." And so, yeah. So, but it's a game that, coming out of the sort of that area alongside, in like the English development scene, I feel like, at least out here, for those earlier days, you don't hear too much about what actually went into it. But what you find when you dig into it is just this incredible combination, I think, of creativity, technical knowledge, and just boundless energy to do it, which is going to take us to the manual in just a moment. But another cool little thing that I wanted to call out. So the game, when Plok was first created on this Raz arcade board, was called Fleabag. And now if you're playing Plok, there's a lot of flea stuff in there. There's bad guys in there, fleas. It is something that was already there for a long time. And eventually, they were meeting the Stampers, Chris Stamper, I believe. And I'm looking down at my notes because, again, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. And he showed them what was essentially, and I'm going to show you something in a second. He showed the Pickford brothers a sort of slimmed down, kind of squished together Raz board into, and I thought I recognized this from somewhere when I was reading about it, in the liner notes to the OST, into a little bit of a handheld that Rare was thinking about working on. Now, you might all remember, let's see if I can go to the website. You might all remember this right here. This is what was going to be called the Playboy, and this was the arcade thing. This was the arcade thing that Rare was working on, the Raz board. Sorry, I got a little distracted. The Raz board, taken, scrunched up, squished up into a portable handheld form. So it was on this machine. This machine would have been able to play, as far as I understand it, the first prototype version of Plok, which was one of the only things that was being worked on, I think, for this arcade board at the time. And so just imagine you've got a Rare Playboy. The phrase is a little strange to me, but you have a Rare Playboy. You got a Rare Playboy. And I could go for a lot of money on eBay, a Rare Playboy. But if you have a Rare Playboy, you could theoretically, potentially, find the prototype for Plok when it was known as Fleabag and see what they were up to back then. I think that's kind of cool. Look at how big this thing is, by the way. This thing is a beast. I think this is, who is this? Paul Mahachek maybe with this one. But anyway, this is the little machine right here. Pretty cool stuff. And then what happened eventually was they found out that Nintendo was making a the Game Boy. They were basically like, oh well, we got this. And so Rare, I think, put the kibosh on that. So that never happened. However, that led us to the Pickford brothers working on the game that would eventually become Plok. And Cobra Hoof, thank you, Cobra Hoof, thank you so much for joining. Plok is definitely not a game that I thought I'd be talking about 30 years later when I rented it from Blockbuster. Life has an interesting way of keeping things going, and Plok I think is definitely one of those games, for me at least, that feels more modern and in a number of ways than I ever would have expected it to. There's something about its approach, its presentation, the things it does. It just handles everything in a very different way than I think a lot of other games of the era. And so for me, when I sit back and I play it, it feels like something that could honestly be coming out of like an indie studio these days in the best conceivable way. That is my favorite kind of thing, and there's just unbridled creativity in there. So, Plok, fantastic stuff. It is a game that I think stuck with a lot of us. Speaking for myself, at least, stuck with a lot of us throughout the years. And so that is very exciting to me that we are talking about it today. And I'm very grateful for everybody joining to talk a little bit, to do some Plok talk. Plok talk. Let's see, my second page of notes, and I promise this isn't going to be the entire. Oh yeah, home team game dev. The style of separated limb animation was super common in early indie games since Flash did it easily. That's a good point. Plok was he was a trendsetter, and that's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. There was a smoothness there. I swear to God, if you go and play the game now, there is there's a smoothness to it and a clarity to everything, even just visually, that is absolutely out of control. I think it stands up real well, and it looks gorgeous on a CRT, even like a little crummy one like mine back there. So apparently, Plok, the good folks at Software Creations and the Pickford brothers, actually pitched Nintendo to publish Plok, and apparently Miyamoto loved it. Miyamoto was a big fan. And has decided and was like, maybe we'll do this. Let's look at it. Very into it. I think said that Mario's number one, Sonic was number two at the time, and that Plok could be number three. And Miyamoto said that if Miyamoto were working on it with them, he could help bring it up to number two. Which is, he's like, I'm not gonna upend Mario, is what he said. But it sounded like Miyamoto was super into it. However, Nintendo eventually turned it down, apparently because it was quote unquote too similar to a game that they were working on in development, which in the liner notes to the soundtrack, Steve Pickford points out turned out to be Yoshi's Island. Or Mario, whatever, the Super Nintendo Yoshi one. Yoshi's Story, Yoshi's Island? I forget which one it is. But anyway, that makes sense in that case. So Trade West wound up publishing it. And eventually, Software Creations went under. It got sold. The company that bought it got sold. The company that bought it got sold. And eventually it all got liquidated. And so what wound up happening, and just for folks to know, is that there is only the finished ROM that still exists of this game. The source code is gone. All the other stuff is gone. There's no way to really remaster it with the original stuff in there because all that's left is the ROM. All the other stuff is gone to time. So you talk about game preservation, and I'm glad that we have physical copies of Plok available to us. But this is one way that games could, in theory, just disappear. Luckily, Plok hasn't disappeared. It is, in fact, stronger than ever, as far as I'm concerned. So I am going to go ahead and wait. I think I hear something. Oh, oh my God! Whoa! Somehow Plok returned. That's right. It's home team game no. Somehow Plok returned. I don't know what I was doing with this bit. This was just a transition to force me to move on. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I learned in OBS you can put a GIF onto the screen, so that's kind of cool. A GIF, you can put an animated image here, which is very cool. So thank you for that. Plok is telling me that it's time for us to read the manual. Will read the manual in a second, but before we do that, I'm going to take a quick breather and I am going to run through I'm going to show just a bit of gameplay from Plok. I would like for y'all to listen to the music here from the Folens because this is a boss track that goes significantly harder than you would ever think. The soundtrack to this game is amazing. I'll play this for a second and take a sip of water and then we'll do the manual. Is that okay? All right, here we go. Let me know if you can hear it. I had to take a sip of water, but let me know if you can't hear it, okay? Oops. Oh my God. Something's happening. There we go. All right. Sounds like the audio's good. So I remember when I first hit the boss as a kid and being so stressed out. This is so stressed out. Like this music is so good. And the whole game is like this. The whole game is just ridiculous. Like the creativity in there, the music, it just hits so hard. And I'm somebody with a, I'd say less fondness, excuse me, for the NES or the SNES sound style. I find that oftentimes it's a little bit thin, a little bit like gummy. There we go. Plok, ha ha, what a piece of cake, he says. Grandpappy would be proud of me. This game is so good. I love it. Anyway, whatever, however they did it, the Folans made the SNES absolutely sing in a way that I just have not heard before. It's not a criticism of any other music on the system. It's amazing stuff. Again, the system has David Wise music, but it just sounds so freaking good, even on the standard SNES here. So thank you to them. We're going to read the manual. We're going to read the manual. I'm going to do two things. I have a manual here, a physical manual here. And I am going to probably read from it most of the time, but this is a real audio visual, I think, masterpiece. I really love it. I did a little bit more pre-reading than I normally do, but that was because I wanted to make sure that I hit the right notes, checked the right things. I'm also going to screen share a digital version of it so we can go through it together because I think it's worth looking at. A little bit about the manual. I will say this, and I will not be long, but I thought this was extremely cool. I was talking with Steve, who, again, thank you so much for sharing all your experience. The manual for Plok was written and designed, it sounds like basically completely by the Pickfords on their own time, not at the behest of the publisher. From what it sounds like back in the day, from Steve, was that only the highest end home computer games, they're in England, so there's a lot of home computer stuff going on. Got manuals. Maybe you get a back of the box blurb, maybe you get a sentence or two inside the box. But by and large, the manuals were just not that much of a thing unless it was something crazy or super high end. Then they got their hands on the Famicom and the PC Engine and other consoles at the time, and they were blown away apparently by the beautiful manuals, the rich stories, all of these different things in here, all the things that I really like and that I like to highlight here on the stream. And they decided that they wanted to do something like that for themselves, but they knew that if they left it to the publisher, because apparently publisher relations back then were a little bit less, less comfortable with the developers. It was pretty fraught oftentimes. I suppose that is probably still the case now in a lot of ways. But with regards to manuals, they did not feel like the Tradewest, the publisher, was going to be able to put together a manual to their liking. So they, on their own time, wrote the whole manual, created the art for the whole manual, sent off the art to get printed on their own in the US, shipped it over from the UK over to America, got it printed up, brought it back, and essentially then delivered a complete manual, a fully completed manual to Tradewest to be published and put in the box and go. Basically make it so that the work was already done for them. They couldn't do anything else. They really wanted a good manual in this thing, and did they ever deliver? So when I read that, I was honestly like, given how much I love manuals, I was honestly a little bit choked up because you just can see the love in this thing, and you can see the care, and you can see how fun it is, and how much fun they were having. At least it feels like they were having a lot of fun. I know that when you're in the depths of game development, you may not be feeling like you're having a lot of fun, but they were at least having a lot of fun with it. So let's see. I think that is it for my notes. It is it for my notes. So thank you. That is the extent of my knowledge about anything. So don't ever ask me another question again because I won't have a good answer for you. But let's read the manual for Plok. Let's just do it this way. Let's see if I can do it this way. This transition's not working. Oh, okay, there we go. Transition time. We've got Plok. I am using the Plok. I'm using the um, Internet Archive scans of Plok. Generally, this is perfectly fine. I think a good way to go. You can see a whole lot of stuff without having to buy them. I would say that I'm very happy that I went out and I actually bought a copy of Plok by itself for this because it's a pleasure. It's also quite long. So let's get into it. Plok, you'll see here on the cover, has I think, a very cool looking design. Apparently, the original version. Can you see my mouse on this screen? Looks like maybe not. I'm highlighting. Oh, there we go. The original version of this art was apparently a little bit different, but that has been lost to time as well. So they wound up, I guess, going and making this sort of clay looking style version of it for the cover, which I think turned out real well. I don't remember if that was a Trade West thing or someone else, but that was a very cool look. So Plok already getting high marks from me on the manual front. We'll scroll on down, and you'll be able to see all the usual stuff. But I think what you can already tell here is that there's some real nice art going on. Real nice art on the screen. Who is Plok? The story, getting started, all that kind of good stuff. And I think that we can start reading right about now. Now, you can look at the screen. I'm going to read out of the manual, as is my wont. So bear with me. Who is Plok? At last, a real hero. Plok is an irresistible, irrepressible, unstoppable, highly improbable, and downright dangerous bundle of pure energy. Plok is a lot like my older daughter. Plok does not like fleas. Plok has the amazing ability to fire all his body parts at will. Plok can really throw a punch. That's pretty good. It sounds like maybe John Pickford did most of the writing in this. Steve did all the art, and I think layout. But whichever brother wrote Plok can throw a punch. I like it. Plok has a very short fuse. At the slightest irritation, those limbs begin to fly. Plok hates fleas. Plok is a true hero with a heart of gold and joints of the highest quality Velcro. D Busco, yes, this manual is so good. It's everywhere. This personality is everywhere in this freaking thing. Plok is a man with a mission. He is dedicated to ridding the world of the menace of the dreaded fleas. Plok is a dreamer, a wanderer, a free spirit. He's suave and elegant. He's grade A first class prime cut. Plok really doesn't like fleas. Plok is the king of the beautiful island called Acrylic, part of the archipelago Polyesta. You guys. Everyone knows that Plok is simply crazy about flags. Of course you do. He has them everywhere. He uses them to mark out which parts of acrylic he thinks belong to him. His flags are all over the place. Now, what you may not know is that Plok has a particular favorite flag, a big square one with a picture of himself on it. He keeps this special flag on top of his own house so that he can see it every day when he gets up and every night when he returns home from a hard day of being Plok. Of being Plok. If you were a despicable character and you wanted to upset Plok or get him out of the way for some reason, what would you do? Hide his special flag? Well, that's exactly what happened today. Somebody, he doesn't know yet who, has stolen his special flag and placed it on nearby Cotton Island. As you can imagine, Plok is hopping mad about this. First thing this morning, he sets off on his boat to retrieve his property. But knowing Plok, he's not going to leave it at that. Nope, no way. Anyway, that's the story so far, but there may be more to this business than meets the eye. And I want to call out, this is amazing art. I think this tells you everything you need to know about the game right here. This stuff is so good. So there you go. Plok just absolutely hammering the hell out of this flea, just killing this flea. So getting started. I wanted to call this out, and this is when I realized I really wanted to do a manual reading for this game. In the getting started section where it's loading and playing, normally it's just like, make sure you've set up your Super Nintendo, all that kind of stuff. But step number 1 for loading the game is search your room for pesky fleas. It's everywhere in this. Make sure the power switch is off. Insert the Plok game pack as described in the SNES manual. Have at least one, or have one last check for those pesky fleas, and switch the power on. And then for playing, count your limbs, no more than 4 allowed. Push start. Check that your flag is in position. What are you waiting for? Get going. I love it. It's so good. So there you go. You get your screen layout. There's lots of good pictures in here. The colors in the game itself, I actually think really sing in this manual. It's a nicely printed manual too. So I guess that might be cheers to Trade West. Credit where credit's due. And then let's go on over to the Plok Continue system. I'm gonna. They gotta. They're in trouble for the Plok Continue system. The Plok Continue system. The Plok thickens. I wonder if that's in here anywhere. Feedback in case you're watching John or Steve. If you are looking for a pun, we could do the Plok continues or the Plok thickens. Excuse me, the Plok thickens. Um, it's free idea. Smart stuff on my part, I'm sure. At the start of the game, a new game, Plok has no continues available. When all spare lives are used up, the game is over. During the course of the game, Plok can earn several continues, which allow the game to continue from specified points. You get your Plok tokens. You get permanent continue positions. A few key positions in the game have been designated permanent continue positions. These are after either the Bobbin brothers or Rocky Fella have been defeated. Rocky Fella. Once a player has reached one of them, a new game can be started. Every new game started will be at this position, so the earlier levels will not have to be played through again and again. And I think that's another thing in this game is just considerations for, I think, like respecting your time. This is a hard game, and there are some stretches where it can get pretty rough, but they've given you lots of different ways to make things feel not so bad. On the previous page, actually, you can see how this works. The skill levels give you different things, which I think is pretty neat. The normal mode is, you know, your normal stuff, but Child's Play, the baddies all move slower and take fewer shots to defeat. Some hard levels have been taken out, so they really thought about this stuff. Yes, Divas, I think my only gripe with the whole game is I don't think the Pekinos deserve what Plok does to them. They're just balloon magicians. Yeah, well, listen, I don't think it's ever been made clear whether or not Plok is on the right side of history or not. I think we can all recognize that Plok has a little bit of an ego thing going on as a guy, we don't know what kind of king he is. He's maybe a vengeful, wrathful king who considers himself a god. But we got some level description. Yes, my headcanon too. Yes, I agree with you, Debusco, that Plok is fundamentally a landlord. He is, and he puts up all of his flags and he collects rent. Yeah, maybe not a good guy, but a cool guy. I think he's cool. We got Cotton Island. We're going to go to the level descriptions. Cotton Island. Each section of Cotton Island is completed by reaching the end and running up the flag at the flagpole. This may not be as straightforward as it seems. Acrylic. All parts of Acrylic have been populated by pesky fleas. Yeah, he's a slumlord. Everywhere he owns is populated by fleas, so he's a slumlord. To complete these sections, Plok must defeat every flea. The last flea defeated will give up Plok's flag, and it will then float to the flagpole. If Plok gets to the flagpole before all the fleas have been overthrown, their flag will still be flying. If Plok gets lost, an arrow will appear, pointing towards the nearest flea or the flagpole. Again, a little bit of quality of life stuff there in an era when maybe that wasn't so much the case. Legacy Island. Each section of Legacy Island is completed by reaching the end and digging at the mound. Valuables may be hidden there, but maybe not. You got boss levels, you got flea pit levels, you got secret bonus levels, or race against time. The idea is to reach the end there. It can be difficult, but there's a special reward for completing this challenge. So now we get to learn about our fleas. How's everybody doing? Is it all right if I take a sip of water? I'm furious at Plok for being such a bad landlord. Okay. There we go. Water. The loathsome spawn of the evil flea queen from the dark depths of the mysterious flea pit. These beasts should never have been allowed to see the light of day. Plok will have a tough task ahead of him if he wants to make Acrylic a safe and clean place to plant his flags again. Flea eggs. Every level of acrylic will be populated by a dozen of these flea eggs. Each one of these, and I'm calling this one out because when I first saw this word the other day, it was the first time I had ever learned it. Each one of these, each one set in a big pile of disgusting blue flea gunge. Gunge doesn't sound good. I'm assuming it's poop, but flea gunge. The eggs are harmless in themselves, but will soon hatch into horrid little bug-eyed fleas. Now you tell me, are they really horrid? I think they're kind of cute. Look at this, like look at this guy. Look at this guy and his uh, disturbingly muscular legs. Adult fleas. The full grown fleas are the most terrible beasts in the whole of polyester. The jittery little bugs are hopping mad and never stay in one spot for more than a few seconds. Every hit turns them a shade greener as their strength is sapped. 3 whacks should end their foul existence for good, but watch out that they don't jump on Plok's head first. You also have super fleas, who are more powerful flea types that guard the flea queen in her underground lair. Flying mutant fleas, slime spitting super fleas, and tough sentry fleas are already in waiting for anyone brave enough to enter the flea pit. We got a bunch of people who live here. They're all bad guys, so Plok exists with a victim mentality. I worry. Maybe you get to the end of this game and it's like you discover that all the things you've done were in service of evil. Most of the inhabitants of Acrylic have yet to learn who their true leader is and still don't treat Plok with the respect that he deserves. Plok should Plok should dispense some discipline. Gershwin, a crazy kid from Cotton Island. This guy hops till he drops. 2 punches should knock him out for good. Gibson. Gibson is a metal fish who is all wound up about being wet. He's so scared of getting rusty, he tries to spend as much time as he can above ground. Plok's ordinary limbs won't do any damage to Gibson, so it's best to just stay out of his way. The Sprouts. These short, fat guys are the main indigenous population of Polyesta. The little suckers are all over the place. They come in several varieties, but they'll always fall for the old 1-2 punch. They're Sprouts. 2 shots should sort these out. Shield Sprouts, you'll have to shoot these guys from behind twice. Scuba Sprouts. Scuba Sprouts. 1 hit and they'll jump in fright. Shoot them again before they fall down. Sky Sprouts. Sprouts. Sky Sprouts. These fall down from parachutes. Scuba Shield Sprouts. These guys are only frightened if you get them from behind. Sky Shield Sprouts. Sprouts. The toughest sprouts of all. Whew. This is I'm Woo! Orson. This sky creature doesn't like company much. He'll always try to frighten Plok away. If you can hit him once, he'll lie back and play dead. Then you can hop on and hitch a free ride. Jive Hive. There's always a party going on here. This place rocks. Don't go too near unless you really mean business. Then we got Funky Bee. These guys party in the Jive Hive and hate gatecrashers. They may be small, but they can really give Plok a run for his money. We got Big Bud. Big Bud, this giant flower, is really lazy and hates to be disturbed. If Plok wakes him up, he'll always be in a bad mood. He's very tough to defeat and will release Bud Lights to fight his battle for him. Bud Light, this young flower, is immune to Plok's limbs, but Plok isn't immune to the seeds it loves to spit, so watch out. We always say to watch out when you're around Bud Light. It can be dangerous. Is Plok a clinical narcissist? Cobrahoof asks. I think I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but yes, medically, yes. So I think just it's not medical advice, but yes, medically, he is literally a clinical narcissist. I think this game has so much heart, man. This is crazy. The Sprouts section has almost completely broke me. I said earlier that I did do some pre-reading. I didn't read all of it, so I was not expecting the Sprouts part to hit so hard. We got Frog Rose, a distant cousin of the bud flowers, usually found in the wetlands of Acrylic. Hattersley, a thoroughly rude character. Hattersley is so bad-mannered he'll spit on Plok if it comes anywhere near him. A quick punch will scare him away for a while, though. And Lily Mace, a gentle giant of solid rock who floats around the island of Polyesta. She doesn't mean any harm, but always wants to be near Plok. Unfortunately, her spikes are quite deadly to the touch. She's like that X-Men character who can't touch people. Yes, McMahon points out that they had a lot of fun with this, and I think like as a quick, yeah, getting back to the kind of insight that I gathered, um, that this was something that really stood out to them in manuals that they had seen for other console games, and they clearly just wanted to do everything that they could for Plok and for people who are playing Plok to enjoy themselves. This is a game that is like pure character, pure energy, pure creativity across the board. And it's manuals like this one, and this is going to sound maybe kind of stupid, but it's manuals like this that made me love them as a kid, made me want to read these before playing the game. Not because I cared about how to play the game, I didn't, but I wanted to see what cool stuff would be in here that would tie me closer to the game. And man, this one is just gorgeous. So they had a lot of fun with this, but I still can't imagine developing a game, with all that that entailed, especially like back then, small team, and then on your free time, making a manual, building out a manual. Like this is a nicely put together thing too. This must have been a lot of work. So we got some bosses. We got some bosses. Although Plok is self-described king of acrylic, a few self-described. See, there we go. A few renegade big shots have yet to come under his full control. These are all likely to give Plok some trouble during his mission. You got the Bobbins brothers. Um, so you got the Pickford brothers, you've got the Follin brothers, and you've got the Bobbins brothers in there as well. Milton and Marshall are failed circus acrobats who they would be scary circus acrobats with those teeth and giant mouths who now roam the islands of Polyesta as thugs for hire. They are rumored to be in league with the Flea Queen. Some people say there used to be a third brother, Irving, who left the act many years ago due to creative differences. The Pequinos! These poor guys. A tribe of inflatable magicians living in the north of Acrylic. Nobody knows where they come from or why they're there because no one has ever returned to tell the tale. They cannot be hurt when fully inflated. Besides, they float too high, so something sharp should be used to bring them down to earth. Uh, Plok just bringing like a small knife. The Womack spiders. Womack. Wasn't Womack the FBI agent in The Rock? I can always think of like Sean Connery saying, Womack. I should have known. Womack Spider. A real cool dude who lives right in the center of Acrylic. He thinks he's the king of all he surveys and won't let Plok get past without a fight. There are a lot of big egos in Acrylic. Womack's, Womack, Womack's spindly spider legs are definitely his weak point. Then we have Rocky Fella. He looks like a cool guy. The spirit of the very soil of Acrylic. Rocky Fella can pop out of the ground wherever he likes. Rocky is pretty sore about all the flagpoles which Rock stuck in the ground a while ago, and is out for some kind of revenge. His stronghold is the mountains in the southeast of Acrylic. And then the Flea Queen. Bum bum bum. Nobody has ever set eyes on the supreme flea, but you can bet your last shell she's gonna be ugly. And then we get to learn a little bit about some of the questions that I had earlier pertaining specifically to flea gunge. So yes, I am guessing is it poo? I'm afraid to look up gunge on the internet. This is my personal computer, but like I don't know. I don't want to get put on a list. Flea gunge. This disgusting, sticky blue mess is left behind wherever the loathsome Flea Queen has laid her eggs. Most of it's harmless and will be cleaned away when Plok reclaims his kingdom, but some blobs can be shot away while playing, making Plok's route easier. Flea gunge. Logs, rocks, and pebbles. See, those I know. These are liable to fall from a great height at any point, and it's true. Even in early stages, the logs will just come rolling at you, and you have almost no time to get out of the way. It is a good way to get good at video games. Got to listen to the sound, and then they're right afterwards. Plok's limbs are useless against any of these, so jumping is the only defense. What is it that keeps dropping things on his head? That's what Plok wants to know. Spiky doorways. These are spinning death traps. Approach with extreme caution. I'm sure you'll work them out. I always like that when there's a first person in there. I'm sure you'll work them out. Spikes and barbed wires. These are deadly to the touch and usually surround an area that somebody wants to keep Plok out of. There is always another way around. You can walk on these for a short time when you pick up a force field. And ringers. All kinds of junk and rubbish left by Plok's arch nemesis, enemies, excuse me, guess who, to fool him into thinking he's found what he's looking for. They're playing mind games with Plok. The good stuff. We got the good stuff here. There are plenty of objects on the island of Polyesta, islands of Polyesta, that are very useful to Plok, and all of these will help him in one way or another. You got limbs, Plok's main weapons. Plok has only 4 of these, so don't fire them all at once, or he'll end up with a pain in the posterior. Targets. I'm trying to get my kids. The other day I said posterior in the same way, and my kids just looked at me like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" I was kind of doing a bit. I thought it'd be funny to have new words for butt, but yeah. So anyway, let's bring back posterior. Targets. Targets must be hit in the center by one of Plok's limbs to trigger a change in the landscape. In the attract screen, I don't know what you call it in a Super Nintendo game, but in the attract screen, it gives you a little tutorial about what to do. And I thought that was pretty cool too. I don't remember a lot of kind of directed tutorials in SNES era games of this type. So they teach you how to use the targets. The limb that hits the target will be left out to dry on the nearest hanger. Some targets will only accept certain types of limbs, and some are connected to dynamite. So beware. This is why I try to keep all my limbs connected to my body. But if you do lose one, the hangers are usually found near a target, and they're collecting points for any limbs. These are a collecting point, excuse me, for any limbs that have been fired at a target. You get the flags. Each level has a pennant flag featuring the face of its owner. Plok instigated this system a while ago when he decided himself that he himself owned every level, with a special square flag exclusively reserved for Plok's house. When a gang of fleas steals a flag, the last flea to be defeated will give up the flag, which will float back to the bottom of the flagpole, ready to be run up. Imposter flags can always be collected for extra energy. This is a game about revenge. This is a revenge tale. Gritty, Plok, revenge reboot. Let's have it. Shells. These are the most valuable items on Polyesta, so collect as many of them as you can. As well as giving you points, the shells also power Plok's amulet. When the shell counter at the top of the screen is filled up, an extra life is rewarded. Speed Blade. This turns Plok into an indestructible spinning ball of steel, whizzing across the islands of Polyesta at breakneck speeds for a few short seconds. And this game moves fast. Like, Sonic, blast processing, and all that kind of stuff. You can get moving pretty good in Plok. Force Field Gems. These magic gems give Plok an invisible force field for a few brief seconds. And then we have surprise gifts. Gifts have been left around the island by a mysterious secret admirer. They usually contain a costume or vehicle to help Plok past a tricky situation. Who's helping Plok? We have magic fruit. And my favorite section is coming right up. I know we might go a little bit long here, so bear with me, but thank you all for coming. I'm going to take another quick sip of water. Quick sip of water. Water break. Oh. Okay. Magic fruit. Fruits restore energy. Magic fruits are very small, but will get bigger if you shoot them. I'll go try that on some of the stone fruit we got upstairs. It's stone fruit season, by the way. If you guys aren't eating any stone fruit, now is the time to get a plum, a pluot, an apricot, a peach. It's great. It's very good right now. So that's the food corner for this week's episode. Beware, you can't shoot them too many times or you might not get what you expected. Golden fruit. Golden fruits are very rare. They're always full size and will always fill Plok's energy level to the max. The lost amulet was lost by Plok's grandpappy many moons ago, but tales of its fabulous powers are legendary in the Plok household. The amulet was powered by shells, and when activated, the wearer would develop a fierce temper and fight like a whirling tornado, destroying everything in sight until the shells ran out. Safety cradles. These floating platforms will carry Plok over dangerous gaps, complete with a handy safety rail. And auto cradles. These rotating platforms are fixed on a central cog and are quite handy for reaching high ledges. Some of these are broken, so Plok needs to hit the central cog with his fist punches to get them going. We've got buddy hornets right over here. I'm going to take a quick break. D Busco, the amulet might be my favorite power in any game. What if you could use your grandpappy's amulet to turn shells into anger, so much anger that you turn into a saw blade? Yeah, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. It makes sense. It makes sense to me. I think that is very good. I like it. These friendly little bugs can be found around acrylic in tiny blue and yellow nests. When Plok picks them up, they will buzz around his head until he sends them out as humming missiles to attack any nearby enemies. They may be loyal, but they're not too clever and may not always attack the right target. Squareheads. Strange creatures, half vegetable, half mineral, who are found scattered around the island of acrylic. Although quite happy to sit and do nothing all day, if you jump on their heads a few times, it might help you out a little. So kill them. Okay, now I'm going to call out that the section on the different Ploks you can see is called What a Snappy Dresser. And they're right. Plok is an incredibly snappy dresser, and I think these are some of my absolute favorite character designs down here. I remember back in the days of the NFTs and the blockchains, I posted a picture of this Plok, Vigilante Plok, with the flamethrower, noting that this was a picture of Plok minting an NFT and causing climate change. So there we go. Please, nobody take from this that I want Plok to be an NFT. I don't want anything to be an NFT, especially not Plok. So Plok likes nothing better than to dress up like his favorite characters from the movies. He has quite an extensive wardrobe, and each costume also gives him a better weapon. We have Plocky. Plok loves boxing, and with this costume, he has even bigger boxing gloves and unlimited punching power. Yeah, Home Team Game Dev forgot until recently just how many of these guys are armed. Yeah, Plok is he's a Second Amendment guy, unfortunately. But what are you gonna do? I mean, that's kind of in line with his landlord vibes. Vigilante Plok is straight from his favorite video, Plok's Terminator. Plok is on the warpath with a nasty flamethrower under his arm. We have Squire Plok, who's my favorite. An English country gent in a deerstalker hat and with a blunderbuss under his arm, Plok can be lord of all he surveys. Anyone who disagrees will soon find a pound of buckshot headed in their direction. That's Dick Cheney Plok. We have Cowboy Plok. Plok's favorite films are westerns. With a 10-gallon hat and spurs on his boots, Plok is the fastest gun in Polyesta. Rocket Plok, which if you haven't said the name Rocket Plok out loud, I strongly suggest doing it. It feels very good. Rocket Plok, armed to the teeth with rocket launchers. And then check out the hardware. In the final battle with the fleas, no punches will be pulled. The doors to Plok's garage, that was pretty good. The doors to Plok's garage will be opened and his extensive fleet of fighting vehicles will be put to full use. Enterprising players may get to test drive these vehicles early on, though. You have a unicycle. Not bad for beginners. The unicycle has some unique advantages for the ecologically minded users. Comes with a free water cannon. You have an off-road truck. Look at that truck. God, it's beautiful. For tougher terrain than the unicycle, this four-wheel drive beauty offers both speed and comfort for those who want to go that little bit further. All models are equipped with an Army surplus rocket launcher. There's the jetpack. Straight from the drawing board, this prototype flying machine is sure to become the transport of the future. Not all safety features are in place yet, but it sure gives a hair-raising ride, and the powerful laser packs a punch. And then the motorbike, which apparently comes with hand grenades. Now we're talking. A fast and mean radical machine. The quickest vehicle on the whole of acrylic, and if anyone gets in your way, just chuck a grenade in their face. We've got the helicopter. The only choice when it comes to air-to-ground combat, this baby is totally maneuverable in the tightest situations and will drop bombs on anybody from a great height. The tank, which is, this is very Operation Desert Storm. Plok kind of doing his best Michael Dukakis impression here. This is for those of you who really mean business. An unstoppable monster machine that nobody is going to argue with. What this thing lacks in speed, it makes up for it in power. Plok has anger issues. You've got the UFO. And if I scroll up here, you can see he's got his cool little antenna. For a limited time only, and at great expense, we have this totally alien, highly unlikely flying machine, equipped with plasma cannons and fashionable dealy boppers. This gadget will save you from a close encounter with doom. And then the secret super vehicle, The very latest in high-tech sophistication and modern battle armor technology has been utilized in this no-expense-spared weapon of the future to help Plok defeat the evil Queen Bee. Sorry, I wasn't down there. Then we have two sections, two sections left. Um, we're gonna read about the tour of Polyesta. We're gonna get some. We're gonna take a quick look at advanced techniques, and then I'm gonna end on the credits. Um, and uh, and man, this is so fun for me. Okay, Plok's world is set in the Plok's world, excuse me, is the breathtaking archipelago of Polyesta, located in the Meridian Sea. Let's take a quick tour of some of the more interesting locations. You've got Cotton Island, a picturesque island to the west of Acrylic where everything is made of soft fabrics. There are only a few local inhabitants, and so far nobody, not even Plok, has claimed sovereignty over this small domain. Cotton Island is famous throughout Polyesta for its beautiful sunsets. You have Acrylic. This is Plok's homeland and the biggest island of Polyesta. Acrylic has many inhabitants, both large and small, excuse me, with the Penkinos, Womack spider, Womack. I should have known, and Rocky Fella being the most notable. The countryside ranges from sandy beaches through deep shady forests to craggy cliffs and caves. The only blot on this beautiful landscape is the highly built up Plok town. Plok recently proclaimed himself king of the island, although whether anyone took any notice of this is another matter. Plok, the Blight King. Legacy Island. This is a long deserted island to the north of Acrylic. In years gone, this was the site of Grandpappy Plok's great quest for the lost amulet. After many fruitless years, Grandpappy Plok returned empty-handed. The amulet is rumored to still be buried on Legacy Island. Poor Grandpappy, a man of regret. The Flea Pit. Who knows what lurks in the underground home of the fleas? Nobody, that's who. No one has ever been stupid enough to go down there. I think the music I'm playing right now is the Flea Pit music. Yeah, enjoy the music. This is the music from Flea Pit. I'm gonna turn it up for just a second. It's really good. Anyway, strongly suggest that you all go check out the soundtrack here afterwards because it's good. You get some advanced techniques. I think this is pretty cool. I'm not going to read all these right now, but fired limbs come back instantly when they hit a baddie, but float back slowly when they miss. So try to make sure try to make every punch hit. That is a fun component of the game too. It is an immediate comeback, so you can just wail on dudes. And if you mess up, you are in some potential trouble. He can't fire in a somersault jump, but can jump much higher than an ordinary jump. When Plok is short of limbs, a power-up costume will bring them all back if there's no one lying around. There is a lot to chew on with the gameplay in Plok, and that is, I think, why it has stood the test of time for me so much. The music is obviously incredible. Everything else is incredible, and you can tell when you're playing it and reading the manual that they loved this game. That they have so much love for the character, for the world, for everything around it. This is a game that is kind of the ultimate, and with this manual, just the ultimate in labor of love, I feel like. And so, at the risk of being too sappy, Plok is amazing. Plok is fantastic. And this manual is by far the best one I've read yet, I think. This is incredible to me, the amount of work. And again, remember, this is what two dudes did on their free time while also making a complex video game with tools that probably didn't provide them and afford them with a lot of free time. So I'm at the risk of being sappy. Thank you to the Pickfords. Thank you to everybody involved in this game. We'll read out the names of these folks. I think I want to make sure that everybody in here gets a good shout out. And thank you to everybody here who's been watching and sticking with it. This one was a little bit different. Yes, Home Team Game Dev Awards. This manual, 10 Ploks out of 10. Which is an incredibly high score, the only manual to ever reach that many Ploks. So, yeah, it is. I'm trying to think. It's a lock. It's a Plok. I got nothing. I'm still stuck on the Plok thickens from earlier. That's my only good pun. So anyway, the credits. Let's read the credits real quick, and then everybody can go out and enjoy the rest of their day. The concept, design, and manual. I'm gonna pour this down a little bit because I'm not sure you guys can actually see. The concept, design, and manual were John Pickford and Steve Pickford, a software creations game. Graphics and design, Lyndon Brook and Steve Pickford. Program and design, John Buckley. Music and effects, Jeff Fallen and Tim Fallen and Follin. And I will say that I did not do enough here to highlight the music. The music in this is so good. I mean, the Fallen stuff is incredible, like across the board. And reading from the liner notes for the soundtrack, it sounds like oftentimes the Follens were just dropped into a project, told to do something with it in a couple of weeks, and they do it. And here they got a little bit of direction, but then just like pumped out absolute banger after absolute banger and made it sound incredible on a system that I didn't think could do those sounds justice. So the Follens up there with the Wises and the Beanlands and all of this. So amazing stuff. Compression software, Kevin Edwards and Stephen Ruddy. Additional graphics, Dan Whitworth. Artwork, Steve Pickford and Chris Jojo. Thanks to Mike Webb, Brian Ulrich, Dave Mack, Malcolm Daglish, Steve Thomas, Lucy Gell, Tony Harmon, Rare Limited, Joel Hochberg, Zippo Games Limited. Producers were John Pickford and Steve Pickford. Executive producers, Richard Kay, Byron Cook, and Joey Torito. Thank you to Trade West. If you have any issues, you can reach out to Trade West at 2400 South Highway 75 in Corsicana, Texas. Their phone number is 903-874-2683. That is where you can reach them. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the Pickfords. Thank you to everybody involved in making this. Thank you to Steve for your patience and not patience, but availability, willingness to talk with me, willingness to share your thoughts during, I'm sure, a busy time. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. This is fantastic. I've had a lot of fun, and I hope that you are all ready to stand firm against Plok when he comes to take our homes from us too, because I think that he's a dangerous fella who doesn't quite know it. Anyway, thank you. Yes, D-Busco, thank you so much. I appreciate that a lot. I had a lot of fun. Y'all are amazing. And see you all around. Thanks. Oh, wait, I'm going to say goodbye to Plok. Plok's here. All right, there we go. He's angry, but we're happy. Yay, bye. Bye, everybody. Stop streaming. Bye.